Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Karina Lanta Mentorship here with another Velocity Banking review. And this is the third video of the day. Oh my goodness, it's a record. It's been a long time since I've done that. And we already have over 1,100 videos on this channel. So let's see what happens once we get to 10,000. Okay. We're going to spam that YouTube algorithm. Now, I know it is Sunday, and I know some of you have the Sunday Scaries, okay? And if you've never heard this term Sunday Scaries, it's the anxiety that you feel on Sunday before you get to work, right? So it's like you're dreading that Monday, and the weekend is supposed to be for relaxing, but most people can't on Sundays. And I think that the professions where people experience this the most is probably like teaching, uh, medical, anything medical, anything dealing with like human beings. You know what I mean? Oh, Sunday Scaries. Okay. So Sunday Scaries. And I'm in the Cleveland Clinic website. So I feel like, okay, if you know how to pay off debt, that kind of alleviates partially the Sunday Scaries, because one of the reasons why people feel that is because they have to go to a job that they hate. Okay. And when your debt is paid off, like a mortgage, who has the power? Like, are you doing your employer a favor by working your job there, or is the employer doing you a favor by paying you, right? And unfortunately, that's how just life works as a quote power struggle. In a lot. Unfortunately, also, a lot of life is about control, right? Who controls who, and a lot of employers don't like it when the employee has leverage and control. But if you've paid off all your debt, then who has the leverage? It's probably you, right? So might want to think about that, paying off your debt as a way to alleviate the Sunday scaries. Okay, so that's what we're going to review today: velocity banking. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy where you throw all of your money into debt with the help of something called a line of credit. And so, first step to velocity banking is creating a budget, because your budget's your debt attack plan. So, your income, expenses, leftover savings, um, and then in the expense breakdown, you list every single debt that you have: credit cards, two auto loans, a student loan, a mortgage, and then your personal operating expenses, right? Things you have to pay for, food, gas, insurance that's not tied to debt. You could just clump them up into one little expense category here, because we just need to differentiate debt and non debt. Okay. And so, what's the difference between average American and velocity banking? Well, for the average American, what's the purpose of their checking account? Well, the purpose of their checking account is to pay bills and then put the leftover in the checking account. So you get paid, you pay your bills, and whatever's left over, it just stays there, right? Whereas velocity banking, your checking account is just for receiving and sending money, right? Depositing, withdrawing money, but you're not supposed to save it. Okay. It's like the first step. So you see right here, money comes in and then money goes out. And then where does it go? It goes to something called line of credit. So that's really the first step to velocity banking, is really brainwashing yourself or getting over the fear that you have to save money. Because think about this, like, let's say you quit your job. Okay. Now, if you quit your job and you have no money saved, a lot of people think, like, this is bad. I can't quit my job. But what if you had tons of lines of credit as backup? Now, I'm not saying you should quit your job. What I'm saying is that you have a lot more leverage if you pay off your debt quicker and you don't have money saved, if that makes sense. Okay. And I don't give financial advice here. Don't quit your job, because banks love to lend to W 2 employees. Okay. All right. So we have $119 of cash flow with no savings. So you might be thinking, wait a minute, these two numbers are the same, right? But if we shuffle some debts, then this number can get a lot more bigly, as they say in the big leagues. Okay. So what we're also going to assume is we have something or access to something called a line of credit. So, what's a line of credit? Well, basically, it's a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and then use it over and over again. So, this is my $373,500 home equity line of credit. So, basically, if you have something called home equity, which is the value of your home, okay, value of your home minus the amount that you owe on it. That's the amount of equity that you have, right? And then the bank is willing to lend you that amount times about 80 or 90%. Okay. So your home is kind of like a giant credit card, but even better than a credit card because you can use it to pay whatever you want. Right. So if you have a student loan, okay, use it to pay that. If you have a car loan, you have to use it to pay that. Right. Like it's very hard, okay, to pay a loan with a credit card. You can do it with Plastique, but even Plastique has some restrictions, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna assume we have access to a line of credit. And by the way, if you don't know about anything about me, I have over $731,000 in lines of credit. $731,000 in lines of credit. Yeah, I do. I do. This includes credit cards because a credit card is a form of line of credit. You swipe, you pay it back, and then you use it over and over again. Now, if you have personal lines of credit and home equity lines of credit, these are a lot more flexible, right? You can use it to pay anything. And this is my recent $20,000 personal line of credit that I got, I believe, last month from the local credit union here in Georgia. Okay, local credit union here in Georgia. And if you sum up all the credit lines that I have, $731,000, right? And when I tell other people, they don't seem to be impressed. What's funny is I asked ChatGPT, $731,000 in credit lines, what percentage of people does that put me in? It's not even top 1%, it's top 0.01%, right? Top 0.01%. Remember back in like 08, 09 when the housing market crashed and people were like, we're the 99% or something like that, and they were protesting like the Wall Street top 1%. Well, according to ChatGPT, and again, I'm not part of Wall Street, so I don't know how that stuff works. I'm in the top 0.01% when it comes to credit lines. All right. And then, something that I always got to flex on is I paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months. So this is my paid off mortgage statement last year. I can't believe it's been more than a year already. Man, time flies so fast. It flies so fast. So I paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months. And yeah, I mean that's what I did. Okay. And I don't know what else to say, but just a little bragging here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and assume we have maybe $100,000 line of credit available for us to use. Now, you might be thinking, oh, will the bank lend me a line of credit when I'm struggling and only have $120 left over? The answer to that is banks don't lend money to people who need it. So if you want to know how I got over $731,000 in lines of credit, okay, you got to know the secret, which I always talk about over and over again. And it's more of a mindset shift. I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my words today. Is it dyslexic? I don't even know. All right. So it's a mindset shift, right? You have to understand this. And this is the ultimate secret. People are like, well, what credit score do I need? Or, all that. No, 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 no. I don't even care I kind of care about my credit score, but I really don't. I'll tell you about the ultimate thing that I kind of do to determine whether I should go to a bank or credit union or not. I wake up and then I ask myself, do I need money today? If the answer is yes, I will not go to a bank or credit union. Okay, I will not go because I need money. Okay, and banks don't lend money to people who need it. But if I ask myself and I wake up, do I need money today? And the answer is no, I'm going to apply. I'm going to apply. Now, I don't get accepted all the time, but hey, you don't you miss every single shot that you don't take. Well, is that the phrase, right? I probably get rejected 50, 60% of the time, right? So, but I only went when I didn't need money. See how that works? All right, so let's assume here. So why do we talk about this? Is because a lot of people have this idea on the internet that if you are struggling, the bank is going to lend you money. No, 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 that's not how the bank works. Okay. But the reason I talk about free and clear lines of credit is because if you knew this, you wouldn't be here. And the way that the bank sees you when you try to get a line of credit and you only have $120 of savings left over is a person who crashed their car. Okay, a person who crashed their car without car insurance, and then you're trying to get car insurance. That's how the bank sees you. right? Whereas, you want to get the car insurance before you start to drive. And that's what getting a line of credit before you need money is like getting car insurance before you start to drive. Much easier to get the car insurance before you start to drive than crashing the car without car insurance and then trying to get it. You see what I'm saying? But what if you did have the car insurance? What if you were able to get it? It would save your life. You know it would, but you got to get it before you crash the car, right? So that's why I talk about the free and clear line of credit a lot, knowing how to do things in the right order, because the order of operations is what matters the most, and most people don't do it. Like most people try to like, well, how do I get around? Though there is no getting around it. Give the bank what they want, which is a person who doesn't need money. Okay, a person who doesn't need money, because a person who doesn't need money is low risk to a bank, whereas a person who needs money is very unlikely to pay it back. Remember the time your friends and family said, "Hey, I need some money. Can you lend it to me?" And then you did, and they didn't pay you back? Well, the bank knows that people do that. As an institution, they know people do that, so they don't lend money to people who need it because they want to get paid back. Now, they don't want to get paid back early, but the bank would prefer to get paid back early compared to not getting paid back at all. And then when they see a person who needs money, they're like, we're not going to get paid back at all. No, thank you. Okay. Yes. All right. So let's assume we have a free and clear $100,000 line of credit that we somehow were able to get that magical car insurance after we crashed the car without the car insurance. You can see how this could be a lifesaver, right? So $65,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle some debt into the line of credit. We're going to shuffle some debt, okay? And then what we're going to do is start with the 2 credit cards, and then guess what happens here? Whoa, look at that. Oh, this is the best moment of the whole video, because you literally turn $119 to $2,300 and making the same income. Same income, shuffle some expenses. Whoa. You know, I remember the first time I showed this to people in real life, I was hoping like they would ask me questions like, how did you do that? Or how does this work? Oh, let me practice this, right? Because there is a little bit of practice that you have to do to remember the steps. Like it's not super um self-evident what you need to do, right? Because again, I did this over and over again so that I can just do this off the top of my head. But when you see this and then when you see this, like, if it were me, I'd be like, oh, show me more. Like, oh, I'd like to study more. But I've noticed most people have something called the velocity banking poker face, which is they see this, they see the income is the same, and they don't know how to respond. It's like their mind is blanking out, and it's like, well, why didn't I know how to do this before? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that happened. That's why a lot of people can't ask, because it's like this weird internal shame that they should know how to deal with money, even though like nobody ever teaches you how to deal with money. Not the school system, probably not your parents, probably not your relatives, probably not your friends who grew up with, probably not your workplace, right? So why would there be shame in something that you were never taught? But a lot of people are like this. See, here's the thing. I have no shame. Someone sells me some classes to take, I'm going to take them. You know what I mean? Because nobody taught me. So I'm willing to pay, and people who pay attention. You know what I'm saying? So, final step was you put your entire paycheck, $7,000, into the line as an overpayment, which does 2 things. It satisfies a minimum monthly payment, and then it lowers the average daily balance, right? I mean, think about it. If the minimum payment of a $65,000 line of credit is like $400, and you put the entire 7,000 in, you satisfy the minimum monthly payment, right? You satisfied it, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do this, which is do this, and then this is going to be do this. 2306.86. So what does this mean? Basically, you want to get the next month's balance based on the previous month's balance, interest, you add them together, and then you subtract the cash flow number. And then what you do to calculate the average daily balance is multiply the interest rate based on the average, right? So the average balance divided by the 0.075 interest rate, and then you divide by 12, and then you copy and paste. And all right, so what you do here is you see that in 31 months, that credit card debt is paid off. Amazing. All right, so now just kind of resuming the video. I actually paused for a second, even though you probably weren't aware. Okay, had an alarm go off. All right, so let's go back, and then now we've paid off the credit cards, and so what we're gonna do is just figure it out here. 31 months, we paid off 2 credit cards. 31 months, 65K, and then we did this, and then now we got 2 auto loans, a student loan, and a mortgage. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right here. And whoopsie, screwed up. All right, so what month are we at? This is my loan calculator. I created with Excel right here. Very simple, 31 months. So it'd be 31, 31, 31. And then this is going to be, how much is this? 25 grand. So what we're going to do is move the 2 auto loans into the line of credit. And what do we use to figure this out? What debts to move into the line of credit? Easiest way is by using the cash flow index. So basically all it is a formula of the balance divided by the payment. And then what you do is you just move the low ranking ones into the line, and then you'll have a lot more cash flow easily. So 25 grand to get almost $1,000 of cash flow. Let's go ahead and do that right here. I'm going to do this. And then this is going to be plus 25102.3. And then now what we do is these 2 auto loans go to 0, 0, right? And then now look at this cash flow of 3 grand. Ooh, that's much better than what we started with $119. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna do this, and then minus 3205.29. Whoopsie. Okay, and then we see that in 40 months, this is all paid off. 40 months. Whoa. All right. 40 months. Equals 65 plus 25 plus 25. All right, that's 115K. All right. And then in this one right here, the student loan, 40 months. So it's going to be 0, 0, 40, 40, right? And then now we have 44 grand in the student loan, right? So student loan right here, 44 grand left over, and then we're going to move it into the line of credit. All right. So, which is B plus 43433.6. Okay. And then this is going to be 0. And then this is our cash flow is 3,900. All right. So this is going to be 3901.94. So 51 months. And then it's paid off. So 51 months. And then it's going to be 115 plus 60. So 175K. And then the last one is that 30-year mortgage. 51 months. And then just do this. 51. All right. And why is it? So here's 2 things that I just want to emphasize. Number 1, you want to pay off the mortgage last, right? Because why? Look at this cash flow index, and it has the highest. So it's like this is like a ranking system. Basically, it's saying if I give the bank $211,000, I'm only giving $1,000 of cash flow. So there's really no bang for your buck, right? And especially if there's an interest rate difference, okay? Because you're getting such low bang for your buck, you probably will end up paying more than you have to by moving the loan into a line. And this is actually true with higher and higher amounts. So if you deal with high value properties like in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and you just move the loan completely into a line and you have a low interest rate, you'll feel a lot more pain than you have to. Okay. So, but it's important to pay off that mortgage early, but last, okay? Because if you let it go to the 30-year mark, right? Guess what happens? Even at 4%, you got to pay $165,000 of interest, right? And if we change this to 5%, what happens? 214. So each percent that you add, uh, it makes it makes this a terrible, terrible deal, right? So let me go back to, I think it was 4% we were at. And so we're at month, what month were we at? We were at month 51. So I just gotta type in 51 here. Okay. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to quote chunk it, right? So it just means that we move a piece of the loan into the line and then we'll just use it, pay it over and over again. So let me go ahead and put the information here. So this is going to be 4%. And then I'm just going to put in the income and expenses first. So income is $7,000. Expenses is $2,000. Okay, and then what's the original balance of that loan is 230 at 4%, so 230000. And then what's the payment amount? It's 1098.06. So 1098.06. And then 211,610.94. 211,610.94. And now let's just do $7,000 chunks, and we pay it off in 3.9 years. Okay. We can even use a 30% credit card to do this, and look at the difference. 4 years and 22 grand. So it's like you're paying 5 grand more. Okay. You're paying 5 grand more. So let's go ahead and just record this right here. So 3.9 years, we're good. Blah, 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 blah. So it's 0. And then it's going to be 51 divided by 12 plus 3.9. And then that's going to be 8.15 years. And then we are debt free. So hopefully, once you get to this point where you're debt free, and maybe, hopefully that you have a well paying job, right? Because it's very hard to get a mortgage as a W 2 employee unless you have a really good paying job. And then if you're self employed, that's like being unemployed to the bank, right? So, all right. So, okay. Actually, I don't know if it's the same as unemployed, but I think they're going to anally probe you a little bit more if you're self-employed compared to W-2. They love the W-2. So what's ironic is that I think if you're the business owner, right, you're less likely to qualify for the mortgage than you would if when your employees that work for you, because the bank sees a W-2 employee as in a stable position, but not the business owner, not the self-employed person. Very interesting. Might be wrong, but let me know if you're a finance guru or expert and tell me if I'm wrong. But that's my understanding about how this financing stuff works. But yeah, that's it for today, folks. Hopefully, I know you got mostly got to go to work tomorrow on Monday, but this soothe your scary Sundays, because when you're debt free, man, you just don't give a you don't care. You just be like, whatever. Yeah. Paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, and then you go to work and it's like, I wonder if anybody else at work has paid off a mortgage in 2 years and 9 months, right? Or am I just like flexing a little bit too hard? I flexed over the sun, boys and girls. All right. So, well, that's it for today. Have a great day. And, you know, I don't know why, but I'm in a mood to crank out like 10 videos a day. Let's see if I can do it. If I crank out 10 videos a day, how will the algorithm treat it? Okay. All right, that's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.